Hello, friends. So today I wanted to share, I was reflecting recently in a conversation, this experience that I had. It was a coaching call. It was like a connection call, I should say, with a shaman that was very impactful in a friend of mine's life. And so I was curious to have a conversation with him. And this was years ago, but as life happens, what was really interesting was there was a moment in that conversation that I felt something he said struck me, but maybe this will resonate with you, where it's like, this was deep and meaningful, but there was no way for me to conceptualize it. Like, it really went right over my head. But there was something deeper in me that was like, I should remember this because maybe one day it'll make sense. And it really landed for me, like just a few days ago, maybe a week ago. And I wanted to share it with you because it really was profound in how he described it. And so just for context, at the time when I was reaching out to him, I was very much in this space of finding purpose and wanting to get clear on next steps and what does the future look like, in this kind of ambitious state of really wanting to grasp truth. And I remember he used this metaphor where he's like, most people are always walking forwards. They're walking forwards towards the mountain, the very common metaphor, right? You're trying to climb the mountain. And he says, many people are so focused on the journey of climbing the mountain that, you reach the peak only to look out and see there's so many more mountains to climb. And maybe you actually climbed the wrong one. So maybe there's now frustration and there's different emotions that are coming up. Or maybe you're successful and now you want to go climb all the mountains, and you create all these stories and all this doing for yourself, right? But that's been the life journey of so many people. And the moment that really dropped for me is when he said, for those that are truly seeking truth, it's not about walking forwards. It's about walking backwards. And I was so confused by that. And I'm like, no, like everything's about, maybe it is. I was so focused on the mountain that I was looking to climb to make sure it was the right one so that I can learn from other people's mistakes and not go climb 20 mountains, but just focus on the one freaking tallest, highest mountain. So when he said it's about walking backwards, I like it kind of like something in me just like frazzled. I was like, huh? And I, to be quite honest, don't remember much of the rest of the conversation because I was a bit stuck by that. But what landed recently was this recognition of, oh my gosh, it's kind of like the book The Alchemist. Like you're seeking everything externally, but until you really start turning around and walking backwards, and the way he had said it was like, not like walking physically backwards, but like you're turning around and you're walk in the other direction. Walk back the path that you have already walked. And I remember being like, in my head, the way I had conceptualized it was like, but isn't that kind of retracing the past? Like, what's the point of that? But what landed recently was the awareness and the knowing that he was describing the journey home. It was actually about no longer playing or living in this 3D reality of the mountain and the seeking in the future, because that's all an illusion. The past is an illusion, but actually when you're turning around and doing, it's kind of like all the society and traffic are moving forward and you're the one who's like no longer disillusioned by it all, and you're the kind of treading your own path back. So you're retracing your steps back to yourself. And I had this just big poof, like recognition of that's exactly, totally unconsciously, what I've been doing. In the sense that I'm no longer trying to accumulate things. It's like there's this aspect of my identity that was all about consuming and gathering. And I felt, this is like months ago, I remember being kind of just very in this uncertain space where I'm like, I'm not attached or attracted to the concept of goals anymore. And it really threw me for a loop because that was what functioned. That was like my main core function, was like set the goal, achieve the goal, set the next goal, achieve the next goal. And it was like, that's what drove me. But it was so bizarre to be in that space where I completely let go. I kind of replaced it with intention. Like, okay, I'm not going to set goals, I'm going to set intentions. But even then, it was still this part of me was like, this part of me was dying it was no longer there wanting to grasp anything, no longer journeying towards the mountain. And I now understand this walk backwards, retrace your steps, is about letting every part of our identity, that weight of the multiple identities that we put on these masks, as you heard us probably spoken about, it's dropping them all away. And that's been this experience that is so hard to put into words, but I'm doing my best here. Of the last couple weeks, for me, it really has felt like a deep, it's not even surrender, because surrender, every time I heard that word, felt like an action, like I had to go surrender. But it's very much this natural process that just started to emerge. So it was so insignificant, but so significant that I almost had to like look backwards and go, what happened? Because I feel different, but I didn't do anything differently. There was no doing involved. It's kind of like, I use this metaphor. It's like someone put this like weighted blanket, this warm weighted blanket on me. So everything just felt more easy and more at peace. And it was recently in a conversation with a friend where I was discussing this conversation I had with the shaman and how it was landing for me. And she has this reflection and she goes, whoa, actually, like when you're walking backwards, that's the only way you're actually able to recognize you are not the mountain that you're trying to climb. Like you can't get that perspective if you're walking forwards because you're so focused. That's like your one pointed focus is climb the mountain, be the mountain. But until you walk backwards, can you create enough spaciousness to recognize, to even have the awareness that I'm not any of that. None of that actually matters. And that really hit too, because it's almost the act of turning your body around. That's the one action you need to take. And that's what you hear a lot inside of these, when people are teaching, it's your commitment, your willingness, the sincerity in your willingness to want to wake up, to want to find truth, to want to live that truth. And I realize, again, all these years later, it's like I've done that U-turn without trying, it's so bizarre, you guys. It's like it's hard to put to words. I'm re-listening to this book by Adyashanti. Let me find it for you. And I invite you to do this if you haven't already. Like if there's meditations you used to do years ago, go back to those meditations. If there's a book that was so profound years ago, go back to it because it's really beautiful to witness my own growth and I'm sure your own growth of the nuggets and the deepening of understanding of some of these concepts that I just see how much it went through my mind and how now when I'm going back to reread, and the book I'm rereading is called The End of Your World by Adyashanti, Uncensored Straight Talk on the Nature of Enlightenment. It is deep. And I read it. I listened to it and there was a lot that it landed. But like honestly, in the span of 2 to 3 weeks that I finished that audiobook that I'm going back through, I'm already sensing things very differently. Like it's landing so differently because now there's not just a conceptual understanding, but there's a lived experience of what he's explaining. And so it's been very profound to sit in this surrendered state, to sit in this dropping away. And I feel like for me, it kind of was a phase of 2 weeks because I think I turned this interesting corner over the weekend on Monday where I felt that kind of conscious mind kick back into gear. But unlike other times where I've had these kind of glimpses or maybe extended glimpses, there's a difference now where I'm not so upset or I'm not so like, oh, the other foot dropped. Now what? It's more like, okay, this is part of it. The human experience is integrated in the divine being. It's not one or the other. They're integrated. Even this recognition of a lot of times when I was doing these meditations of trying to connect to higher self, there was the conscious human Stephanie attempting to connect to this higher being. There was a separation in that way of going about it. But the difference here is it's almost like now when I go into my body to connect, there's an awareness that everything is the higher being and the conscious self is this kind of small little child. It's very different. It's like instead of, again, conscious mind is like the driver's seat and I'm trying to get someone in my passenger seat. I'm trying to get this, like open the door to the car to get the divinity to come through. It's No, everything has been divinity. Everything has been this higher being, this divine nature source, right? And instead, it's just my mind that's been playing these games with me. So all this to say, invitation to turn around. And this makes me think of that book, The Alchemist, right? Seeking everything outside of myself, when in reality, it's been inside all along. Again, I read that book many times, conceptualized it a lot. But what fascinates me with this journey is for me, it's been a slow journey of trust and the recognition that yes, all of my actions mattered, but the real transformation has happened on its own. Like really trusting that things will come to fruition when they're meant to. And as hard as I might try to force a timeline to be today, that's not how this game works. That's not how this journey works. It's actually really living from that state of knowing and coming back and trusting. Trusting has been the hardest one for me. It's still like kind of a relationship I'm building, but it's such a different way to be. So thanks for listening. I'm deep inside of this kind of a awakening experience right now where everything's changed and nothing has. It's the most bizarre thing. But it's beautiful. And I think something I'm intending and practicing right now is like, there's a magnetism that I have towards finding the beauty in the mundane. Like instead of this part of me again that was seeking the big, like I think I said it in one of my videos, like I just want God to touch me on the shoulder and blah, like I'm awake, right? There's a part of me that's actually fascinated by the simplest parts of our lives, like this routine that I live in on a day-to-day basis. Like I'm also like drawn to this concept of the dying process, like the recognition of the limited time we have here. And if I really were dying tomorrow, every little mundane thing that's in my life right now, I would not take for granted. Me sitting, I almost get emotional, like me sitting, shooting this video, like would be the most important thing in the entire world, right? Like to really live, it's so beautiful to feel our emotions, to really live from a space that, yes, life is infinite and it's endless, but our human experience is limited. This body, these identities even that I've taken on, like they're beautiful. And I get to live this version of me in this life to the best and the most beautiful ability that I have. And so do you, and so do you. Don't take it for granted. Every part of it is intentional, it's on purpose, it's masterfully designed for your greatest and highest good. It's all just a choice that we have on a daily basis. And please, I almost want to say this, but it's like, I know many of us, like, we feel like we don't have control, but it's like our minds are so good at getting in our own ways. I have lived that so much, but our minds can tell these and craft these beautiful, intricate stories about why things are hard and why it's not possible and why I'm not good enough to be that. And it's just another story. It's just another thought that fades in and fades out. And these thoughts are just repeated habits and patterns that we've created for ourselves that form this 3D reality we've created. So I'm rambling now, but you can see my heart's in this. This matters so deeply. It matters so much. Finding the beauty in the mundane, being present to what's here to emerge, and to really play that witness in this life, to create that non-attachment, but like it's a non-attachment that's still deeply attached to what matters most, but there's such a spaciousness of ease. And I think the greatest emotion I'm experiencing through all of this is the emotion of relief. The relief that we feel when we drop identities. The relief that we feel when I don't have to force myself to follow a certain diet because that's what my conscious mind thinks is the best thing for me. I don't have to force myself to do anything. And it's such, like, there's so much freedom in that recognition, where if I come from a space of love and a choice that I want to do this for me, it's a very different way to be in the world than I must do this for other people's acceptance, or I must do this to accept myself even. So a lot inside of this. Thank you. Hopefully you're tracking alongside of me. Would love, as always, any comments, questions, feedback below of your own experience inside of your own awakening journeys, or anything at all that landed, that was meaningful to you. Sending you big love. Be well, my friends. And I look forward to connecting with you on the next Wisdom Burst.